You are the creator, awakening beyond reality. Introduction. You didn't find this message by chance. It found you, precisely when you were ready to remember. There comes a moment in every journey when the seeker stops searching and begins to see, not with the eyes, but with the awareness that pulses quietly beneath every thought, every breath, every heartbeat. That moment is now. Maybe you've spent years chasing signs, studying techniques, scripting affirmations, visualizing, trying so hard to attract the life you believe you deserve. Maybe you've read every book, attended the workshops, recited the mantras. Still, something in you knew there's more. There is, because you were never meant to spend your life chasing manifestations. You were meant to realize that you are the manifestation. Not the one hoping, not the one wishing, but the one choosing, embodying, creating now. This is not a book of techniques. This is not a lecture. This is an activation. You are about to cross a threshold. Not to become something else, but to awaken to what you have always been. The source, the signal, the one the universe responds to, not passively, but immediately. Every word you're about to hear is not information. It's remembrance, a return. You will need to try harder after this. You'll need to allow more, to surrender more, to feel deeper, and live from a frequency so aligned that the universe has no choice but to reflect it. Because that is what reality is. A mirror, not of what you want, not of what you say, but of what you are being. And when that truth lands in your body, when it shifts from concept to embodiment, everything changes. Not slowly, instantly, not through effort, through clarity. Not because you begged the universe, but because you remembered. You are the universe becoming aware of itself. This journey isn't about creating a new life. It's about choosing a new version of you, one that already exists. So prepare yourself, not to chase, but to step into alignment with a timeline that's already waiting for you. Welcome to the moment where you stop searching and start remembering. Chapter 1. Reality is a mirror. Reality doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your frequency. Not what you speak out loud, not what you write in a journal, but what you radiate, silently, consistently, in every thought you entertain, in every belief you refuse to release. Reality is not reacting to what you want. It is mirroring who you are being. Imagine walking through a hall of mirrors. You move with joy, and the reflection smiles back. You scowl, and the same scowl greets you. Not because the mirror has power, but because you are its source. Now imagine this. Life works the same way. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your circumstances, they are not arbitrary. They are not happening to you. They are happening through you. As precise reflections of your dominant emotional state, your inner certainty, your beliefs, conscious or unconscious. When you shift your inner state, reality must follow. It's not a maybe, it's law. But I've been thinking positively, you might say. I've been doing the affirmations. Why isn't my life changing? Because you were trying to change the mirror. Without changing the face it reflects. Harold Davis understood this. He was a street magician in Chicago, performing with practiced precision. His hands were fast, his illusions sharp, yet something was missing. His audience was unengaged, unresponsive. He adjusted his tricks, changed his outfits, upgraded his props. Still silence. Until one cold winter evening, everything shifted. He didn't change the trick. He changed himself. That night, before stepping out, he didn't pretend to feel confident. He became it. He closed his eyes and allowed the feeling of mastery, of being a world-class magician, to flood his body. Not because the audience needed to see it, but because he needed to be it. And as he performed, something magical happened. The audience leaned in. Gasps replaced yawns. Tips flowed into his hat like rain. It wasn't the trick. It was the transmission. He had aligned with a new frequency, and the world couldn't help but respond. You see, energy doesn't lie. Reality doesn't lie. It reflects exactly who you are right now. And if you're brave enough to stop blaming, stop waiting, stop performing, and instead embody the truth you've been searching for, life will mirror that back to you in ways that look like magic, but are simply alignment. This same law lived in the life of Irene Mitchell, a struggling fashion designer in 1940s Manhattan. She fought for years to be seen, pouring her heart into designs that buyers rejected again and again. Then, one morning, she did something radical. She stopped chasing approval, and she stepped into a state of knowing. She stood before the mirror and felt her brilliance. Not mentally, physically. In her posture, her breath, her tone. She didn't hope to be recognized. She knew she already was. That day, she didn't just walk into a buyer's meeting. She entered it as the designer they had always been looking for. The same designs they dismissed? Now, they were begging to showcase them, because the world wasn't responding to her sketches. It was responding to her state. You may not be a magician or a designer, but your life, your career, your relationships, your health are all playing by the same rule. Reality is a mirror, and the mirror only changes when you do. Not by effort, not by efforting to be something you're not, but by feeling into the version of you that already exists and choosing to become that fully now. The mirror ritual, shifting your reflection. Here is your first activation. 1. Pause. Close your eyes. 2. Choose the state you wish to live in. Confidence, peace, abundance, love. 3. Now feel it, not as a wish, as a memory, as if it already happened and you're remembering how good it felt to live that way. 4. For the next 3 hours, carry this frequency with you like a secret flame. Let it guide your posture, your words, your decisions. 5. Watch how the world changes subtly, then undeniably, to reflect what you've become. This is the art of conscious embodiment. This is how reality bends, not to your words, but to your being. So ask yourself, right now, with gentle honesty, who am I being? And what is that version of me commanding the universe to reflect? Because you're always broadcasting. The only question is, are you aware of what you're sending? Chapter 2, Frequency is Reality. Everything is vibration. Everything. From the heartbeat pulsing in your chest to the chair beneath you to the memories playing quietly in the back of your mind. All of it is energy vibrating at specific frequencies. And those frequencies, they aren't random. They're instructive. They send signals and reality obeys. Like attracts like is not a metaphor. It's physics. Your life is not happening by chance. It's happening by frequency. And until this truth is not just understood, but felt, lived, owned, you will keep looking outside of yourself for answers that were never out there. Walter Bennett knew this without ever reading a book on spirituality. He was a quiet man, a radio technician in the 1940s. Night after night, he sat in his shop adjusting copper wires, tuning dials, chasing clarity through static. And one rainy evening, something clicked. He realized the problem was never the broadcast. It was the receiver. The message was always there, perfect, complete, consistent. But if the frequency was off by even the slightest degree, all he heard was noise. That's when it hit him. My life is working the same way. He wasn't receiving what he wanted because he was tuned to the wrong emotional frequency. His thoughts were scattered, his beliefs filled with doubt, his body heavy with stress. And so, what showed up in his life? More noise, more chaos, more disconnection. So he did something radical. He didn't change the world. He changed his frequency. He began choosing emotions deliberately, tuning himself like he tuned radios. Gratitude in the morning, calm at noon, confidence in the evening, not as reaction to his day, but as a command to it. And slowly, then suddenly, his life caught up. Clarity replaced chaos. Clients returned. Health improved. Relationships softened. It wasn't luck. It was resonance. Now consider Evelyn, a pianist playing smoky jazz tunes in a Chicago speakeasy. For years, she played melancholy music, and the room matched her tone. Half-drunk patrons, sad glances, tired applause. Until one night, she changed the song. Not just the notes, her energy. She decided, before a single key was struck, that tonight she would play joy. Not fake it, feel it. And as the melodies lifted, the room changed with her. Eyes brightened, laughter returned, and soon, her music was no longer confined to the shadows. She was invited to concert halls, radio shows, front-page reviews. Why? Because she tuned herself first, and reality harmonized in response. This is the truth you must now own. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are tuned to. And your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, they're the dial. When you tune to lack, you receive evidence of it. When you tune to fear, you draw on experiences that match it. When you tune to trust, joy, peace, the world responds like an orchestra following a conductor. It doesn't matter what you say out loud. It doesn't matter what you write in a notebook. If your body is vibrating in desperation, the universe will match that frequency, not your words. So stop asking, why hasn't it happened yet? Start asking, what frequency am I embodying consistently? Because that is the blueprint the universe uses to shape your life. The frequency reset ritual. Here is your second activation. 1. Choose a dominant frequency to live in tomorrow. Joy, peace, power, trust, love. Choose one. 2. From the moment you wake, move from that state. Speak from it. Walk from it. Think from it. 3. When lower frequencies arise, frustration, doubt, resistance, don't fight them. Just retune. Like Walter adjusting the radio. 4. Hold your chosen frequency for one full day. Observe what shifts. Who calls you? What opportunities appear? What feels easier, smoother, lighter? Because reality is not personal. It's vibrational. You're not a victim of randomness. You're a signal tower. You are broadcasting 24/7. The only question is, what are you tuned to? And are you willing not just to think differently, but to feel differently, to embody differently, so that life can respond in kind? This is not work. This is art. This is your power. Chapter 3, The Illusion of Time. Time is not what you think it is. You've been taught that it moves in one direction, past, present, future, like a straight line across a page. You were born, you grow, you strive, and someday, maybe you arrive. But this is a story, a convincing one, a shared illusion, but not the truth. Time is not a line. It is a field. Every version of you that could ever exist. The one who already healed, already succeeded, already found love, peace, purpose. They don't live in some far-off future. They exist now in parallel timelines, waiting for one thing, your alignment. The future is not something you chase. It's something you remember and return to. Let me tell you about Roger. He was a writer, lost in deadlines, doubts, half-written dreams. He believed his breakthrough was years away, that success was something he'd earned through time, effort, and struggle. Then he met Augustus, an old clockmaker who whispered a different truth. Time is not a river flowing in one direction. It's an ocean, and you can swim to any shore you choose. Roger laughed, until he didn't. That night, something shifted. He stopped waiting to become a successful author, and he began writing as one. He He didn't pretend. He didn't wish. He wrote with the presence, confidence, and energy of the version of himself who had already arrived. And within weeks, publishers noticed. Doors opened. Timelines collapsed. Not because Roger worked harder, but because Roger stopped living in the illusion of someday. Ellen knew this too. She was a nurse, recovering from an accident, told by doctors that it would take years to walk again, if ever. But each night, she closed her eyes and stepped into a different version of herself, one who danced, laughed, moved with grace. She didn't hope to get there. She became her, inside first. And slowly, then miraculously, her body responded. Muscles reawakened. Strength returned. Her recovery, unexplainable, but not to her. Because when you live from the vibration of a future reality, that reality cannot help but arrive. This is not fantasy. This is physics. Your mind believes in time, but your frequency lives outside of it. When you tune into the emotional signature of your desired future, you collapse the distance between now and then. In reality, with no resistance left to push against, rushes in to meet you. So why do we wait? Why do we sit, hoping, manifesting, visualizing someday? Because we forget. You don't become your future self by effort. You become them by alignment. Right here, right now, the timeline collapse ritual. This is your third activation. 1. Close your eyes. Imagine the version of you who already lives your desire. See them, feel them, not as fantasy, but as reality remembered. 2. Write in detail how they speak, what they believe, how they walk, love, decide, breathe. 3. Now, for 24 hours, live as that version. Don't wait. Don't pretend. Become. Let every move you make, every yes and no, reflect the choices of that you. 4. Pay attention. Life will shift. Fast. Because it's not waiting for time to pass. It's waiting for you to arrive. The timelines are already written. The healed one, the free one, the joyful one. They're not in your future. They're in your field. The question is no longer, when will it happen? It's which version of me will I choose to be today? You are not walking toward your dream life. Your dream life is circling you, asking, will you match me now? Time bends for the one who stops waiting. Because the future doesn't arrive through striving. It arrives through certainty. And the moment you stop asking how and start declaring who, the universe stops delaying and starts obeying. Chapter 4. The power of letting go. What you chase, you push away. It's a strange paradox, but it is one of the most sacred truths in the architecture of reality. The more desperately you grasp, the tighter life seems to close its hands. The more you strive, the further your desires seem to drift. Why? Because need is not a frequency of having. It's the vibration of lack. And the universe, ever precise, reflects that back. Not as punishment, but as pure law. You attract what you align with. And when you're clinging, fearing, obsessing, controlling, you're aligned with absence, not presence. Samuel learned this the hard way. He was a salesman. Leather shoes worn thin, briefcase filled with dreams no one seemed to want. Every door he knocked on, every pitch he rehearsed, felt heavier than the last. He was chasing success like a shadow, and it was always one step ahead of him. Then one evening, drenched in rain and exhaustion, he collapsed into a small cafe. An old man behind the counter said softly, "You're fighting the current. Let go, and the river will carry you." Samuel didn't understand, but he felt the truth in those words. So he did something radical. He surrendered. He stopped trying to force the sale. He stopped trying to close. He began serving from stillness, from joy, from presence. And within weeks, his numbers doubled, then tripled. Why? Because when you let let go of control, you make space for flow. Rose knew this too. She had lost her husband in the war. Grief hollowed her days, and though she longed to love again, her attempts to move on felt empty, forced, frantic. She went to every gathering, smiled through every introduction. Still no spark, no peace, no connection, until one spring morning, tending her garden, her hands deep in soil and silence, something shifted. She stopped reaching. She whispered into the wind, "If it's meant for me, let it find me." And she let it go. She didn't give up on love. She gave up trying to control how it would come. And in that space of openness, love arrived, gently, unexpectedly, through letters from her late husband's best friend. A friendship turned into something more, something deeper than what she'd ever tried to force. Because when she stopped chasing, love chased her. This is the paradox you must now embrace. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the moment you stop acting like life owes you something and start trusting that it already wants to give it to you. But it can't move toward you if you're filling the space with fear. The life that's waiting for you is not arriving through grasping. It arrives when you surrender your grip on how and when and return to presence. The present moment is your power. Everything else is illusion. The surrender practice. This is your fourth activation. 1. Choose one area where you're holding on too tightly. A desire, a relationship, a goal, something that feels like it's just out of reach. 2. For the next 3 days, practice surrender. Say to yourself, "I trust this is working in my favor." Stop trying to control the outcome. Instead, focus only on being present, available, and aligned. 3. Watch what happens. What shows up effortlessly? What flows to you now that your hands are open? Because when you let go of force, you allow in the grace that was always waiting. You were never meant to hold your dreams so tightly that they can't breathe. You are not here to chase alignment. You are here to surrender to it. Trust is not blind. Trust is presence. Trust is knowing the universe has better timing, deeper logic, wider vision than your mind ever could. And in that trust, miracles become normal. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of receiving without resistance, of flowing without fear, of becoming so open, so clear, so aligned, that what you've been waiting for can finally find its way to you. Chapter 5. You move first. You've been taught to wait for confirmation, for clarity, for the right moment, the perfect mood, the right sign. The world, it seems, has conditioned you to believe that life begins only after it gives you permission. But here's the truth. Reality is not the initiator. You are. You've been reacting to what you see. But the most powerful creators don't respond to the external world. They lead it. Every moment, you are standing at a crossroads of infinite timelines. Each possibility already exists. The version of your life you dream of, it's not out there in the distance. It's waiting for your signal, for the moment you choose to align. You move first, and the universe moves second. George learned this lesson staring at a field of dirt. He was a farmer in Nebraska, watching the sky day after day, waiting for the conditions to be just right before planting. He checked the soil, studied the almanac, consulted nature, but the weather never cooperated. He remained frozen in indecision. Nothing moved until he saw his neighbor Thomas planting boldly under an overcast sky. "Isn't it too soon?" George asked. Thomas smiled. "It becomes the right time when I decide that it is." Weeks later, the rains came. The sun broke through, and Thomas's field bloomed, not because he was lucky, but because life aligned with his certainty. You've been taught to wait for evidence before you believe. But the secret is this: The evidence doesn't appear until you believe. You don't see it to believe it. You believe it, and then you see it. Martha knew this too. She owned a modest hotel in 1943 in a city tightening under wartime rationing. Most businesses were shrinking, struggling, waiting. But Martha did something unthinkable. She renovated. While others cut costs, she painted walls. While others delayed, she upgraded rooms. She didn't wait for guests to show up. She prepared for them. And they came. A military facility opened nearby. A famous author booked a stay. Suddenly, the hotel was overflowing. Not because she waited for the wave, but because she became the signal. She didn't hope for prosperity. She embodied it. And reality responded in kind. This is the law of bold alignment. The moment you decide, reality starts rearranging. Not slowly, not reluctantly, instantly. Not because you forced it, but because you became a match for the reality you chose. The decision ritual, the first move. This is your fifth activation. 1. Choose one situation in your life where you've been hesitating, waiting for a sign, hoping for an opening. 2. Ask yourself, what outcome do I truly want? And who would I be if I already knew it was done? 3. Now, write down your decision. Clearly, decisively. 4. Today, act as if that outcome is inevitable. Speak as that version of you. Make one choice that reflects that inner knowing. Embody the certainty of the end result, not the waiting. And observe how quickly reality begins to comply. Because decision is a command, and the universe is always listening. You're not here to live in response. You are here to live in command, not as force, but as frequency, not as control, but as creation. You're not the chess piece. You're the player, and the board shifts with every move you choose to make. So ask yourself, what would I choose if I truly believed life was already aligning in my favor? Because that belief, when embodied, collapses time, removes resistance, and sends a ripple across reality so powerful, the world will feel it. Stop waiting. Start declaring. Stop reacting. Start creating. You move first, and reality, as it always does, will follow your lead. Chapter 6. The Art of Flow. You are not born to force your way through life. You were born to move with it. And yet, from a young age, you were taught the opposite. Hustle, struggle, control, plan, push harder, try more, fix what's wrong. But here's the truth. Flow doesn't come from control. It comes from trust. The universe is not disorganized. It is precise, infinitely so. A symphony of timing, movement, resonance, and rhythm. But you can't hear the song if you're shouting over it. You can't feel the guidance if you're gripping every detail in fear. To flow is not to drift aimlessly. It is to trust the intelligence that's been guiding creation for billions of years and let it carry you, too. Albert Matthews didn't believe in flow. He believed in timetables. For 12 years, he conducted the 7:15 Express from Chicago to New York. Rigid, reliable, routine. Every turn calculated, every stop measured. Until one morning, a fallen tree blocked the tracks. He could have waited, filed a report, delayed, but something stirred in him. He took a different route. One not on the schedule, one not on the map. What happened next? He couldn't have predicted. They stopped in a small town where a desperate mother was reunited with her child. A slower pace through a narrow valley avoided a dangerous accident ahead. Passengers connected who were meant to meet, not by plan, but by flow. Coincidence, some would say, but Albert saw the deeper truth. The detour was the design. What seemed like disorder was perfectly orchestrated. We try so hard to follow the plan we think we need, the career plan, the 5-year plan, the path we mapped out in our heads. And when life pulls us off course, we panic. But sometimes what you call a detour is the actual path, and what you resist is wrong, is exactly what's right. Dorothy learned this on stage. She was a performer, her routines rehearsed to perfection, every smile timed, every gesture practiced, until one night, the lights went out mid-show. Darkness, silence, nothing to hold on to. So she did something she hadn't done in years. She felt, she moved, she let go. What came out of her that night wasn't rehearsed. It was real, raw, radiant. And for the first time, the audience didn't just applaud, they wept. Because she stopped performing and started being. And the world always recognizes truth, even in the dark. Here's the paradox. The less you force, the more grace enters. The more you trust, the more life supports. The moment you surrender, you find yourself exactly where you need to be. Flow is not passive. It's present. It means listening deeply, acting intuitively, and releasing the illusion that you have to figure it all out to move forward. You don't. You just have to stop resisting and start responding. The flow ritual, 1 day of surrender. This is your 6th activation. Tomorrow, conduct an experiment. From the moment you wake, let go of rigid plans. Start your day with this simple intention. I trust the rhythm of my life today. Instead of forcing, follow intuitive nudges. Feel into decisions. Move when it feels right. Pause when you feel contraction. Say yes only when your body says yes to. Trust that what appears, even delays, surprises, reschedulings, are perfect redirections. Notice who crosses your path, what solutions emerge effortlessly, how things align when you stop trying to make them align. Because when you flow with life, life flows with you. You were never meant to muscle your way through existence. You were meant to dance with it, like a leaf on the river, carried precisely where it needs to go, like a bird in the wind, adjusting not by force, but by feel. To live in flow is to live in conversation with the divine, a whispering guidance always available to those who are willing to listen. So the next time something doesn't go according to your plan, ask not, why is this happening to me? But rather, what deeper path is being revealed to me now? Let go of the need to control the direction, and let yourself be guided by resonance. Because where resonance lives, your true path always begins. Chapter 7, From Seeker to Master. There comes a moment in every soul's evolution where the search ends. Not because the questions disappear, but because you no longer seek outside yourself for the answers. You realize what the mystics and sages have whispered through centuries. You were never separate from what you wanted. You were simply living in the illusion that you were not it already. The seeker lives in longing, always reaching, always preparing, always waiting for one day. But the master knows there is no distance, only frequency. And when that frequency is embodied, when it stops being something you try to attract and becomes something you express effortlessly, the game changes. You stop needing, and you begin radiating. Let's return to Helen. She owned a quiet, struggling bookstore on the corner of 4th and Pine. For years, passers-by ignored it. She tried promotions, sales, redecorations. Nothing shifted until one night, everything changed. And not because of what she did, but because of who she became. She read a passage in a mysterious book that said, "The universe responds not to your effort, but to your embodiment." That night, she stood in the center of her store and claimed her identity, not as someone trying to build a business, but as a beloved curator of culture, a keeper of stories, a magnetic center of community. And the shift was absolute. She didn't wait for it to work. She embodied the frequency as if it already had. The next morning, a local reporter appeared. That afternoon, 3 reading clubs reached out to host their events there. Within days, her quiet shop became a vibrant, living space, alive with energy. She didn't beg the universe. She simply matched the reality she wanted. This is what the seeker must understand. You are not chasing a dream life. You're broadcasting a frequency, and life is responding with mathematical precision. When you stop chasing and start transmitting, reality has no choice but to adjust. The world bends not to your effort, but to the identity you anchor into the now. Beatrice learned this too. She was a typist, but every cell in her body longed to be a writer. She scribbled stories in the dark, typed pages on breaks, whispered ideas into notebooks. But for years, rejection letters filled her drawer, and the label aspiring writer clung to her skin like glue. Until one night, something clicked. She realized she was not rejected because she was untalented. She was rejected because her identity was misaligned. She kept introducing herself as a typist who wants to write. So she made a choice to become who she already was inside. She changed nothing about her writing style, but everything about her inner state. She adjusted her schedule like a full-time novelist. She walked with the presence of someone whose voice mattered. She stopped waiting for a publisher to give her the title and gave it to herself. Within weeks, an editor who once rejected her asked to see more work, and her first novel was accepted for publication. Why? Because she was no longer broadcasting hope. She was broadcasting arrival. Here's the truth most never hear. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe you already are. Wanting keeps it distant. Being brings it here. So ask yourself, am I thinking like the person who already has it? Am I walking, speaking, deciding from that version of me? Or am I still sending signals of not yet, almost there, someday soon? The master chooses now. The master lives the end result in energy before any physical proof appears. And because of that, physical proof must appear. The identity activation ritual. This is your 7th activation. Choose a desire that still feels future-based to you. Write in vivid detail. How does the version of you who already lives that life behave? How do they spend their time? What do they say no to? How do they think, feel, move, decide? Now, for 24 hours, be them. No waiting, no doubting. Align every choice with the end result, not the process. If fear or doubt arises, simply say, I choose again. I'm no longer seeking. I am expressing. This is not imagination. This is a timeline shift. And the more you hold the frequency, the more the world must confirm it. You are not here to beg the universe. You are here to remember that you are it. The difference between the seeker and the master is not knowledge. It's embodiment. So ask yourself right now, am I trying to become, or am I simply being what I've always been? Because you can stop reaching. You can stop trying. You've arrived. Now simply live from there. Chapter 8. Living as your future self now. You are not on your way to becoming. You are remembering how to be. There is no someday. There is only now, and the version of you that you're either embodying or postponing. And here's the truth most never dare to ask. Why are you waiting to be who you already are? The version of you who is confident, clear, abundant, in love, whole. They don't live years from now. They exist now, in a timeline just beyond your current frequency. And you can step into it the moment you decide to live as them. Not pretend, not act, be. Let me tell you about William. He was a clockmaker, precise, quiet, methodical. Every day, he wound the same watches, adjusted the same gears, until one morning, something strange happened. As he held the hands of an antique grandfather clock, he saw himself, not in memory, not in fantasy, in vision, receiving an award for design, standing tall, recognized, confident. And something in him knew that wasn't imagination. That was a memory from the future. Because time doesn't flow in one direction. It responds to alignment. So that day, he didn't wish for that version to arrive. He became him. He organized his shop differently. He started designing with intention. He began acting like the master he had always been, but had forgotten. And within weeks, the world responded. Clients arrived. Partnerships emerged. And eventually, the award did too, exactly as he had seen. Because he was no longer waiting. He had stepped into the timeline where it was already true. Now imagine this. Your future self, the one you dream of, is calling you right now. Not with instructions, but with frequency. And all they're asking is, will you remember that I am you and live for me today? This is not visualization. This is identity transfer. This is timeline selection. This is embodiment. Beatrice Collins understood this. She had worked for years as a typist, collecting rejection slips in the shadows of other people's dreams. Her stories went unread. Her voice felt invisible. Until one night, she sat at her desk and said aloud, "I'm not becoming a writer. I am one." And with that one sentence, something unlocked. She rearranged her schedule as if she were already published. She wrote in the early mornings, took walks for inspiration, responded to other writers with authority. She stopped introducing herself as a typist with hopes and began living as a novelist with presence. Nothing external had changed, but inside, she had crossed into a different world. And as always, the world mirrored her back. A publisher who once rejected her requested to see more. Her novel was accepted. Her reality aligned with her identity. Because that's what reality does. You do not receive your desires by waiting. You receive them by being. But how do I know what my future self does? How do I know what to align with? You already know. Because desire is memory. It's not something you came up with. It's something your soul already lived in a parallel timeline and is now whispering back to you. Remember this. Return here. Be me. The future self embodiment ritual. This is your 8th activation. Write a one-day script for your future self. What time do they wake? What habits do they keep? What thoughts guide their decisions? What boundaries do they hold? What emotions do they live in effortlessly? Choose one day this week to live fully from that version. Let every word, every action, every micro-choice come from them. When fear arises, breathe and respond as they would. At the end of the day, reflect. What felt different? What synchronicities appeared? What aligned when you did? Because when you live as your future self, you collapse the timeline between someday and now. And life, always obedient to vibration, must reorganize around your being. You don't create your future. You select it by becoming the version of you who already lives it. And in doing so, you don't just move toward your desires. They move toward you, not because you earned them, but because you match them. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for clarity, waiting for momentum, waiting for permission, remember, you already are. And the version of you who lives your dream life is simply waiting for you to catch up to your own power. Chapter 9, The Mirror Test. What if you could test your power today and see immediate proof that reality is responding to you? Not later, not after a full moon, a ritual, or a perfect plan, but now by shifting one thing, your state of being, because your state is the signal. It's the frequency you broadcast. It's what the universe listens to, without fail, without delay. When you understand this, reality stops being confusing. It becomes predictable, reflective, responsive, like a mirror. Harold Davis used to think he was in control of his audience. He was a street magician, working the crowded corners of Chicago. His tricks were good. His hands were fast. But something wasn't landing. His crowds were thin. His tips were light. One cold night, soaked in exhaustion, he stopped rehearsing. And he did something different. He didn't change the act. He changed his internal frequency. He stopped trying to impress and chose instead to feel mastery in his body. Not think it, not force it, but feel it fully. He stood taller, spoke slower, moved with ease. And what happened? The audience leaned in. Tips doubled. The same routine with a different result. Why? Because the world didn't respond to the performance. It responded to the state behind it. This is the secret no one tells you. Reality always mirrors who you're being. You're not getting back what you do. You're getting back who you are, not the surface emotions, but the deeper vibration you live in. Confidence isn't a mood. It's a frequency. Abundance isn't a bank balance. It's a state. Love isn't something you find. It's something you broadcast. And when you shift the signal, the world has to reflect that shift. It's not a theory. It's law. Irene Mitchell proved it. She was a struggling designer in 1940s Manhattan. Her fashion work had been ignored for years. She'd walk into meetings hoping buyers would approve. Her energy, uncertainty, self-doubt, desperation, dressed in a smile. Then one morning, she decided to test something radical. Instead of hoping, she shifted into knowing. She stood in front of the mirror and felt, deep in her body, that her work was already celebrated. She didn't fake confidence. She became the version of herself who had already succeeded. And within hours, everything changed. Buyers who'd ignored her became captivated. Sketches they rejected weeks ago became must-haves. Nothing in her designs changed, but everything in her frequency did. This is the invitation. Don't wait to be validated. Be the version of you who no longer needs it, and validation will arrive as a mirror. The world doesn't lead your transformation. It reflects it. The state shift ritual, testing reality now. This is your 9th activation. Choose a state you want to test today. Confidence, abundance, peace, radiance, mastery. Don't try to think your way into it. Instead, feel it fully. Remember a moment you lived it. Let that memory flood your body. Anchor into it until it feels natural again. For the next 3 hours, hold that state. Walk from it. Speak from it. Make decisions as if that state were your baseline. Observe what changes, how people treat you, what unexpected coincidences occur, what opportunities reveal themselves. Because when your inner state changes, reality recalibrates immediately. You don't have to believe in the mirror for it to work. You just have to look. And once you do, once you shift your energy and the outer world responds, you'll never again believe that reality is fixed or separate. It is you reflected. So if you don't like what you see, change the one who's looking. Shift your frequency, and the mirror shifts back. It always does, because the world around you isn't happening to you. It's happening through you, as you. Chapter 10, The Divine Mind. Most people live as though life is happening to them. They react to the economy. They respond to others' emotions. They wait for opportunities to be offered. They wait for love to find them, for time to slow down, for permission to begin. But here's what few dare to believe. Reality is not making the first move. You are. Not from ego, not from force, but from alignment, from the divine intelligence that is you awake. You are not a character in someone else's story. You are not a pawn on the board of fate. You are the one who decides the shape of your life. You are the grandmaster, not because you control everything, but because you co-create consciously. Philip Steiner learned this over a chessboard in Vienna. A prodigy trained in the finest halls of Europe. He could predict 10 moves ahead. His opponents marveled at his mind. But it wasn't calculation that gave him the edge, it was vision. Philip realized that the game wasn't won by reacting. It was won by seeing the ending and living from that inevitability. He once said, "I don't respond to what's on the board. I play toward the outcome I've already chosen." And life works the same way. Most people are reacting to their current circumstances, trying to play the game based on what they can see. But the master? The master plays from the end, moves from the future, acts from the version of reality that already exists in the field, and brings it here. Margaret Wells discovered this too, but not with chess pieces, with plants. She was a quiet botanist, tending a small greenhouse in wartime America. Every day, she documented patterns, followed procedures, tracked results. And yet, something felt off. The results were inconsistent. Growth was erratic. Until one day, she stopped treating her work as observation and began seeing it as collaboration. She stopped asking, "How will they grow?" and started declaring, "This is how they're meant to thrive." She spoke to her plants. She celebrated them. She treated them not as subjects, but as partners. And what followed stunned her colleagues. Growth rates doubled. Patterns evolved. Colors deepened. They called it luck. But Margaret knew it was consciousness. She wasn't waiting to see what nature would do. She was participating in its creation. And so are you. The mind of the divine is not something outside of you. It is your mind, once it is no longer limited by fear, doubt, or conditioning. But how can I know if I'm creating or reacting? Ask yourself, am I waiting for something to change before I feel peace? Am I adjusting myself to others' energy? Am I responding to what is or acting from what I choose to be? Because the co-creator doesn't wait. The co-creator transmits, and the transmission creates the conditions. The first move ritual, co-creating with intention. This is your 10th and final activation. Choose one area of your life that feels uncertain or unstable. A relationship, a goal, a transition. Instead of reacting to what is asked, what is the outcome I choose? Not what you hope, what you choose with clarity and calm. Write it down as if it's already true, not as a wish, as a fact. For the next 3 days, make decisions from the version of you who has already arrived there. Speak from the future, walk from the future, lead from the outcome, not the conditions. This is not pretending. This is spiritual strategy. Because the universe does not send you signs first. You send signals, and the universe organizes to match them. You are not a servant of life. You are its sculptor. You are not reacting to a random world. You are the world aware of itself. Your thoughts are not invisible. Your beliefs are not passive. Your state is not a background process. They are the brushstrokes on the canvas of your life. And now, the brush is in your hand. No more waiting. No more seeking. Just knowing. Just choosing. Just being aligned, awake, and in full creative power. Conclusion. You are the creator. You've walked through the mirror. You've remembered who you are. Not a seeker. Not a struggler. Not someone hoping to become. But someone who knows. You are the source. You are the signal. You are the creator. And now, life will reflect what you've claimed. If this message stirred something deep within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Every day, we release new content to awaken, uplift, and realign your soul. Because you're not just consuming content here. You're remembering your power. And we're honored to walk this path with you.